All right, so, okay, so thank you to everybody for coming to this webinar, which is about fighting FGM with maps. So my name's Janet Chapman from Crowd to Map Tanzania and Tanzania Development Trust. And I'm joined by Rhobi Samwelly from Hope for Girls and Women Tanzania. Rhobi, do you want to say something?
Okay. Thank you. We as Hope, I know Hope for Girls and Women in Tanzania, we are using MAP to rescue girls from the community. Hope for Girls and Women in Tanzania, we do different activities. We fight in combating gender-based violence, especially female genital mutilation, early child marriage, and other. But also we do community outreach, where we create awareness to the community using different approaches to reach the community. We also empower local. Hello?
Yeah, thank you, Rhobi. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can hear. I can see.
Okay, great. So I think we're coming on to some of your work shortly. So for those of you who don't know, FGM is the cutting of female genitalia for cultural or religious reasons. Rhobi, do you want to say anything about this?
We have, as we see, we have different types of female genital mutilation. We have this type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4. But for in our area, most of our community, they conduct this type 1 and the type 2.
Thank you.
Janet?
Yes.
In the chat, Catherine and Caitlin saying they can hardly hear Rhobi.
Right, okay, thank you for that. Rhobi, if you can try and speak nearer to the microphone and speak a bit louder.
Okay.
Thanks. So, okay, this map is showing the prevalence of FGM in Tanzania. And Rhobi is working specifically in Mara up towards the Kenyan border. And generally girls are rounded up in a cutting season in the school holidays. And there is one actually starting right now. Rhobi, do you want to say something about that?
Yes, the seasonal cutting have started now. Even today, in one of our safe houses, we have received 41 girls.
41?
In the 41 for today. That is Butiama safe house. And in Serengeti also we have received 4, and the 2 are going to be rescued today, this night, with the police gender desk. So the situation is like the cutting have already started, and now the girls are running, seeking to be helped, to be rescued, and to be protected.
Thank you. So here is Rhobi out of the village doing outreach work. So her organisation Hope supports local activists, outreach work, and the 2 safe houses in Mugumu and Butiama that she just mentioned. So here is some girls at Mugumu safe house. And Rhobi, do you want to say more about what you do?
Yeah, what we do, as Janet have said, we have safe houses. We run two safe houses. We used to protect the girls who are free from FGM, but also even other gender-based violence. And we do community outreach. We set up anti-FGM school clubs. We do film screenings. We map the villages where girls are at risk so that we could rescue them easily without any difficulties. But also we have set up digital champions whom they monitor and they protect the girls, but they also help us to provide reports on GBV cases which are happening in their villages. We re-educate the cutters and we help in prosecutions for FGM, rape, and other gender-based violence.
Thank you. And if people have any questions, please write them in the chat and we'll come to them at the end. So the map at the top shows what rural Tanzania is like. Most of it is very poorly mapped, whereas big cities like Dar es Salaam have had huge amounts of mapping done, are almost like London or New York. But where Rhobi works in rural Tanzania, before Crowd2Map started, most of it looked like the map at the top. So activists like Rhobi need maps. So Crowd2Map, which is actually 5 years old today, has been making them. So we have now around 14,000 online volunteers from all over the world. Many of them are here today, so thank you for your mapping. On the right, there is a map showing where they're from, and they've been mapping from satellite images, roads and buildings to help with this mapping process. So generally, most of our mappers have come via the UN online volunteering website and various other online volunteering places. And the main way that we onboard them is send them an email with some instructions and then ask people to join our Slack channel. The Slack channel now has over 5,500 people. So with this, people can ask questions, they can get feedback, and many things. So if anyone is interested in getting involved, then please, the link is there and I'll send it later. Please do join the Slack channel and help us map. When you sign up, you get some fairly comprehensive instructions like this. And then you can also, there are some quizzes that you can join. You can have a go at the quiz. There are some videos and some pictures and so on. And if you get 100% on the quiz, then you get a badge. These are the 2 badges that we've got so far, one for buildings and one for highways. But we're wanting to make more of these because people seem to really like them and they really help in the mapping process. So for those of you who don't know, the mapping process for remote mapping means that you look at a satellite image like this one, and you trace the roads and the buildings. So you can see here, there is a road and a road here, and then there is a building here that someone is just adding, right? And there's 2 more small buildings here, round buildings. So this is what online volunteers do. We've also set up youth mapper groups in 8 universities across Tanzania. One actually in Mugumu, Setco Serengeti. So they've been also really helpful in mapping Tanzania. So if anyone is linked to a university, I would really recommend setting up a youth mapper group. It's a really great way of getting students involved for mapping against FGM, but also mapping for community development. And we're hoping to set up more of these in Tanzania. And so this is a map that some youth mapper groups created. So that was all from mapping remotely, which can be done from anywhere in the world. But the other thing that we've been doing is training people on the ground in Tanzania to use a smartphone app called Maps.me. So this allows people to add their local knowledge onto the map. So this is what we've been doing with Hope and other community organizations across Tanzania. So here is a group of mappers adding their village to OpenStreetMap using Maps.me. And we've also trained the police to use these maps to quickly find and rescue girls at risk. Rhobi, do you want to say something about the training and how you work with the police?
trained the police officers on how to use maps to rescue the girls. So, but also we have trained the digital champions who are provided with the smartphones. They map their areas, but also they report DBV cases in their villages. So when we receive an information about a girl who is at risk, what we do, we use map. If that area is in a remote and we don't know how to reach and we don't know how to identify well, so we use that map in order to help us to do our decision on which route should we take to reach the location, and also we decide on which route should we take to free the victim to a safe house. Which, when we do that, we keep the records of how many girls we rescue by the help of the map. Also, most of the area are so remote, and sometimes it was very difficult to reach the location. Also, as I said, by using these digital champions, they help us give us a location of where the victims are located. And with the help of the map, we visualize the area, and then we make a decision on which route we use in order to reach those girls at risk in that area. So by using maps, but also it's helped us to map safe places and unsafe places in the remote village. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Rhobi works very closely with the police gender desks. So we've done a lot of training with them so that they can also use the map. Because these villages, as Rhobi said, are very remote. They have very poor roads. They have no signposts. And often they are rescuing these girls at very short notice in the middle of the night. There's no street lights. So having maps is really, really important to help protect these girls. So in 2019, with funding from Women Connect, we trained 87 digital champions. And these were women who'd never used a smartphone before. So we trained them how to use a smartphone, how to map their village, and how to use an app called ODK, Open Data Kit, to report gender-based violence to the authorities in the district. And we also made printed village maps and gave them to the village officers so they could see a map of their village and put it up in the local district office for the first time. And this is an ongoing project. So the funding finished last year, but this is still continuing because we think that these digital champions can be a real force for change and help protect girls in the village. And we would really want to expand it to other areas. So this is the app that they use, ODK, Open Data Kit. So we've set up a form and then deploy it to phones, and then digital champions and other people can fill them out. And one of the good things about ODK, apart from it being free and open source, is it works totally offline. So you don't need to have a connection. In most of these villages, the connectivity is really poor. So you can fill it in offline and then upload it once you have connectivity again. And we're using ODK for many things, also to do follow-ups on the girls that go back to the villages after the cutting season. And we did some training as part of Women Connect, but then we've continued to do online training via WhatsApp groups. And these digital champions are now involved in the research project with Nottingham University that Maddie mentioned at the beginning. So now when a year ago, I think Rhobi was doing all of the data collection on paper. So when girls came to the safe house, when girls leave the safe house, when they do follow-ups, etc. But now all of this data is collected on ODK instead, which allows for much easier data analysis, as you can see here. So typically when girls come to the Safe House, you can see that almost all of them need clothing, need counselling, need underwear, shoes, and often have other needs as well. So typically girls run in the middle of the night because they're about to be cut in the morning. So they turn up at the Safe House with almost nothing. And we've started trying to visualize better the data that is now being collected. So Rhobi and her work was featured in a award-winning film called In the Name of Your Daughter. And Rhobi has been doing film screenings in many places. And now we're starting to do some analysis of that work. 2 years ago, we were invited, and thank you to Anna for organising this, to organise a mapathon at the United Nations General Assembly. And Rhobi spoke about her work and her experience as an FGM survivor. Rhobi, do you want to say something?
Thank you. Yes, I attended the UN General Assembly meeting, and I just presented other local NGOs in Tanzania, and as an FGM survivor, I shared my story, what happened to me, and also learned from others in that meeting. But we had, as Janet said, a mapathon. We thank the UNFPA for planning for this and organizing this, and we did. I would like to thank all volunteers who are supporting us doing mapping in our areas in Tanzania so that we rescue the girls. To date, I can say I'm proud of using maps. It helps us to rescue more than 3,000 girls. Thank you.
Thank you. And so also with UNFPA, this was the launch of their annual report about Against My Will, about defying the practices that harm women. The link is there, and Rhobi is actually featured on page 67 as refusing to be silenced, changing their communities from within. So well done, Rhobi, for that. So just recently, we've had some publicity around, so this was great to see this. And Rhobi was also featured on the BBC World Service last week, Friday, just talking a little bit more about this project. So that's just a quick overview of what we've been doing with Crowd2Map. And very happy, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. I'm very happy to answer any questions. Right, so there's a question from Kevin about Rhobi, where she, I can answer this if you want, Rhobi, because I think people are finding it a bit hard to hear you always. So Rhobi's safe houses are in Mara, in Mugumu and Butiama, that are quite near Musoma. So it would be great to connect with whatever you're doing there, Kevin, and we're connected by email. And welcome Rapudo, following from Kenya. If you're interested in trying to do a project like this in Kenya, then please get in touch. I think the issues in rural Kenya are very, very similar. Yes, we will share the presentation and the recording after the meeting. So there's a question from Chanel. How do you ensure the safety of the, both on the end of the, so Rhobi, I think this is for you. How do you make sure that the digital champions and the people following up the girls are safe?
Okay, as we know, these digital champions, they have these smartphones and they are using the ODK, Open Data Kit. This form, when they used sending any reports or reporting a violence case or maybe an FGM case in the village, all the form is moved. It's not remaining in their phone. So it is not easy for anyone to know that they are the one whom they give this report.
Okay, so I think you're saying that when people report gender-based violence, it's not kept on their phones so that so people don't know who's reported it. Is I think.
Yeah. Because the form is moving, so nobody who could see that they are the one whom they send that report.
Okay, thank you. And I think also when your staff go out to the villages, they generally go with more than one person,
Yeah.
and you work very closely with the village leadership.
Yeah, we have a good collaboration with the village leader, also the leaders of the committee, women and children committee in each village. So, but also we work in collaboration with the local authority as we have stated the area. So we are having a good collaboration. No any harm to them because they are helping us in the fight against gender-based violence and FGM in our community.
So do you find that all of the village leaderships are supportive and helpful to you, or are there some villages that are quite dangerous for you to go to?
As you know, these leaders are also coming from the community. Not all. Although you may get maybe a village chairman is not supportive, but a chairman of the Women and Children Committee is supportive. Or the village executive officer. So it's depending with the type of a leader in a village. But because we have a good collaboration with the different levels, different leaders in different levels, so we are not getting difficult.
And do you think the situation fighting against FGM has got better in the last 5 years?
Of course, yes. I can see changes in this fight against FGM. I can see some cutters drop down their tools and they join our efforts in the fight against FGM. This is a big change in our community. But I can see some of the parents who have changed and they stay with their daughters at home without forcing to cut them. They stay, instead they promote them and educate them. So these are changes. Also, I can see even in our government, I can see some of the parents and some of the cutters who have been taken to prison because of practicing this FGM.
Thank you. So there's a question for, about FGM being illegal. Can you say, is it illegal in Tanzania? Rhobi, can you talk about this?
Yes, FGM is illegal in Tanzania. That is why even I have mentioned we have some parents and the cutters who have been taken to prison. They have sentenced for 30 years, some 10 years, whom they just forced to cut their daughters. So it is illegal.
Thank you. Do you have any data about how many prosecutions there have been in Tanzania or in Mara for people involved in FGM?
I have data for, I can say for Serengeti, we have more than 20 cases.
And were those mostly parents, cutters?
Yeah, parents and the cutters.
Right, thank you. So there's a question from Steve about, is mapping useful for NGOs and police in all areas of Tanzania? I would say yes, mapping is very useful for many different things, not just in the fight against FGM. It's obviously useful for navigation. So, you know, if you want to visit a particular project or a particular village, then using something like maps.me, which works offline, is absolutely brilliant. But also mapping is really useful for community development. For example, if you're a school and you open a hostel, you want to know where do all of the girls come from. Generally, schools don't have a map showing where all the villages are and who comes the furthest. If you're trying to plan where the water points should be, you need a map showing where the existing facilities are. So mapping is very, very useful for community development. So there's another question. Are there initiatives like Rhobi's in other areas where FGM takes place? So, so Steve, I'm not sure if you're talking about mapping an FGM or if you're talking about FGM initiatives more generally. So in terms of mapping, we're hoping to do some work with people in Tarime and Manyara and Singida. But in terms of general FGM work, Anna, do you want to say something about the other people doing work on FGM in Tanzania?
Yeah, sure. I think Tanzania is one of the quiet champions of ending FGM. It's been illegal since 1998, but there's been efforts since independence. And the CSO efforts are coordinated by the Legal and Human Rights Center, which is a Dar es Salaam-based NGO, but it has members all over Tanzania. And for example, in Manyara, where it's 58% FGM, there is NAFGEM doing intergenerational dialogues among the Maasai. In Dar es Salaam, among the Kipunguni based suburb where there's a Kuria community, there's a small knowledge center that works with one of the traditional leaders who has relocated there and donated land, and they're doing different things like teaching Kuria girls hairdressing and how to grow vegetables for the hotel market, but then empowering them to move away from FGM. There's probably about 20 NGOs that are doing amazing work, and so is the police. And if you look at what Rhobi told about the Serengeti prosecutions, in the neighboring suburb of Tarime, which is a special police zone, in between 2013 and 2018, the police had 50 cases of FGM, but they also stopped in 76 cases. So they dealt with 76 cases of attempted FGM. And these are, among countries that practice FGM, these are second to only Kenya. So Tanzania is doing pretty well in terms of enforcing the law. Of concern is the fact that it's increasingly being done on under 1-year-olds to escape the law. Another concern is the increasing prevalence of cross-border FGM, so escaping the law by going to the Kenya side. And again, things like mapping are really important for that, because the cross-border areas need to be mapped for us to be able to control them. Thanks.
Thank you, Anna. There was also a question about how are religious leaders involved in fighting FGM? I don't know if you can say something about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of my sort of annoyances is that often people say we need to convert the religious leaders and the traditional leaders, and they are spoken about in one sentence. But actually, the religious leaders have been some of the first to start this work, or the religious organizations that are often more integrated in the really community levels. For example, in Mara, the Roman Catholic Daughters of Charity started one of the first alternative rites of passage programs globally, and they've protected thousands of girls from FGM. So they are really our allies. There are churches that don't condone modifying your body. I can't remember the name of the church, but that particular congregation in Mara, for example, reports no FGM cases. So sometimes religious beliefs also protect people from FGM. And notably, it's not a religious requirement as such for any group in Tanzania. It's a harmful practice, and we can end it without affecting people's culture or religion in any sort of meaningful way. But really, I think religious leaders have been huge allies. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Rhobi, about religious leaders.
I think Anna have already said, but what I know, even if in our programs, the village leaders, community leaders, where we also train these religious leaders together. And also we have some, also special, our churches have started some programs in their churches, like even if we are sometimes invited even to train church members, and also finally helping them to develop their plan of the fight against FGM.
Okay, thank you. So there was a question about what happens to the maps. So thank you for putting this in the chat, Ralph. All of the mapping that we do goes directly into OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap is totally open source, totally free for everybody to use. So this is one of the really good things about OpenStreetMap. Previously, many organizations did their own mapping, they collected their own data, and it was never shared with anybody else. This was particularly prevalent in places like refugee camps, where you'd have UNICEF would do one lot of data collection, and another organization would do their own. So organization A would put a water point in one place, and then somebody else would put one next door, because nobody was coordinating. So OpenStreetMap is really, really good because it allows everyone's data to be in one place. I mean, this is data that should be in the public domain, such as buildings, roads, water points, and so on. So Tarian's asking about is the medicalization of FGM an issue in Tanzania? Anna, do you want to answer that? Rhobi?
Yeah, Rhobi, go ahead.
Anna, go ahead.
You'll correct me, Rhobi, but there's very little evidence of medicalization in Tanzania. There's been small investigative journalism about incidences in Kilimanjaro where FGM was perhaps, but it's not formal. There was a case of one of the cutters in Mara where we found out that she was actually a qualified midwife, and she had been working for the Kenya Media Council or something in a very prominent job. Then she came back to Tarime on the Tanzania side, and she was the most prominent practitioner because she had been trained as a midwife. But in terms of FGM happening in health facilities, there is no evidence. There's no formal evidence of that. What we are doing now as Tanzanian different counterparts working on FGM is standardizing the health sector's response to FGM, because it's often the sector that people are most likely to get in touch with. So for example, if a medical practitioner delivers a child from a mother who has clearly undergone FGM, she should be able to speak to that mother in a standardized way about why it's important that she in the future does not cut her daughter. So that work is ongoing, and it's based on the World Health Organization's, I think it's a 400-page handbook. We're trying to make it a little bit shorter for sort of ease of use, but I think, to cut the story short, it's not an issue like it is in, for example, Egypt, where it's a real issue.
Thank you. Did you want to add anything, Rhobi?
I think Anna has already explained very well.
Okay, so another question for you, Rhobi. Have you had any problems with people trying to fight what you're doing? Any pushback?
To fight.
Well,
Okay.
Anybody tried to stop your work?
As you know, this the fight against FGM, gender-based violence, it's a difficult one. Although we are working in order to help and protect these girls, but for the people or parents who they want to perform this practice to their daughters, they see it as like their enemies, because some of the parents, they plan to cut their daughters because they want to marry them off. They have been promised to be given a dowry, maybe 10 cows, and then now we as hope we are going to stop them not to practice to cut their daughters. In doing that, instead we want their daughters to continue their education and not to have this violence on them. So these parents really they will look us like their enemies, and they will not support us at all, because they know maybe they plan to get the cows in order to solve their economic problems, family problems, and now we stop them. So they will not be their friends. They will be looking at us, their enemies, and they will not support us at all, because we stopped them from their plan. But I can say, yeah, so those kind of people, like, they must not support us. They will back out our work. So, but I can say for the parents who accept the changes, they're our friends and they're supporting us in this fight against FGM, and they support our work in creating awareness and educating other parents to stop this practice. Even if sometimes in the leaders in the community, you may get a certain leader, maybe like a village chairman or a sub-village chairman. If he is practicing violence to his family, really he is not going to be a good supporter for us. But we use a different way, because we are working using these local authorities. So because they are all reported to the district level, so these top leaders, they go there and they make try to make the situation well for us to work. But all those people who are supporting violence, they always want you to stop, not to talk.
So have you ever been threatened, or have you ever felt in danger?
No. Although we are working in that situation, no, we have not yet got in danger. We are trying to talk to people, telling them the truth, telling them the examples, because they have even some of their neighbors whom their daughters have died because of being cut and too much bleeding upon them. So we tell them, and sometimes we succeed to change the minds of those people who are standing on saying that maybe this FGM should continue or like that. But also the way we receive the girls to our safe houses, after the seasonal cutting finished, we do reconciliation. So we build the relationship between the girls and their parents. And we work together with the psychologists, we work together with social welfare, the police gender desk, going to the community, to the families, talk to them face to face, telling them, and most of them are changing.
So how many girls do you expect to have in the cutting season in December?
Of course, we are expecting to have 350 girls who will free from FGM. And because we have identified the girls who were at risk through our school programs, through the community program, through our digital champions, and we have those numbers. And as I have said, from last week, the girls have started arriving to the safe house, and today we have received 41 girls. And 2 girls in Serengeti, they will be rescued by the police this evening.
So do you have a list of how many girls you expect to rescue from each village?
Yes, of course we have, because those our workers who were going to schools, school programs, we have these anti-FGM clubs where all the girls are identified in each village. And through the digital champions, also identified through the villages which they will be coming from. Because in the village, you know, these digital champions are also helping us to run these girls' clubs for the girls who are out of school. So we are trying to make sure that we have a good connection to rescue the girls and to make the girls to be safe.
Why are some girls out of school?
Some of the girls are out of school. They have completed their schools, standard 7, and they were not.
Rhobi, you're quite quiet.
I'm saying some of the girls are out of school because some they completed their standard 7, their primary education, and they were not selected to continue with further education. So they are staying at home. But some girls, they are not taken to school at all, and they are there in the village. So we have to make sure that our message, anti-FGM message, is reaching all the girls and the other parents or the community in general. But we have to have a good follow-up for the girls who are in the community and the girls who are in the school.
Okay, thank you.
But also some of the girls are the girls whom we take them back after reconciliation. So they are also under the supervision of this digital champion.
And there's a question, do the teachers cooperate with identifying the girls who are at risk?
Yes, because through these school clubs, we have those, we have teachers who are trained to support the running of those anti-FGM clubs to schools. So they are supporting us to identify the risky girls.
Okay, so what are you saying about the girls? So a lot of girls have finished standard 7, which is the end of primary school. So that if they are selected to go to secondary school, they will start in January, but many of them will not start ever. And I think some girls that have never had the chance to go to school. Is that right?
Yes, that is right, because some of the girls have never taken to school at all. And some we are receiving them to the safe house, some are there in the community. So what we do, if they are at the safe house, we teach them how to read and write. And we have some girls who are doing very better. If they could continue with the school, they could do better. And we have joined them to primary school, but using this adult program where they are also fit in some of the classes, and they are doing better. And I can say we have one girl who completed the standard 7 exams and she passed.
Fantastic. So
Yeah.
why is it that some girls never went to school?
Because they have some reasons, because the parents, they don't want to take them to school. And they are saying, in school, you are going just to learn foolishness. So you have to stay at home and help the domestic work at home. That is their reasons. They don't know the importance of education, because sometimes the mothers were not taken to school at all. So they think that the way they grow, that is how even their daughters could be. Or some fathers, they want their daughters to stay at home, learn this domestic work, so that they plan to marry off them, for them to get some cows as a dowry.
And is it the case that how many cows does a girl usually get when she's, does her family get when she's married, if she's cut and if she's not cut?
For say, if the girl is cut, they may get cows from 8 to 6 up to 5, and if not cut, could be 4 to 2. So
there's an economic benefit to the families to cut their girls to get more cows.
It is only economic benefit for the parents. Yeah, no any benefits to the girl.
No,
because she's married off. Even if the girl wants to continue with her husband, want to go to school, she's stopped.
And every time there is a cutting season, I think some girls will bleed to death and die. Is that right?
Yes, we have those cases. Yeah, every season of cutting, there must be girls who are cut and die. Although, and the girl, if it's dying, she's not buried, they're just thrown into the bushes to be eaten by wild animals, because it is a curse to bury the dead body of the girl who was cut and bleed. Because if they bury her in their family compound, it means though the other girls in that family, if they will be cut, they will also die. That is the belief in our community. And they make it very sacred. But through that, people are learning. I can say, like the last season of cutting, we had even one family, the girl didn't want to be cut, but very bad luck, she was cut and she died. And she was thrown into the bushes, although after receiving that information, the police went there and they get already disappeared. Even the dead body is not there. And the parents of the family has moved. Even some neighbors also have moved. So nobody were found there. But after 1 week, the father was hanged himself and he died. And after another week, a brother also hanged himself, died. So the family lost 3 people. And this is very bad. It was also a thought in the community.
It was a what in the community?
It was something for people to learn, a lesson learned again to people in the community, because 3 people died because they are the one whom they were forcing that girl to be cut and she didn't want. So
there's a question about how many cutting seasons are there in a year usually?
Normally, in past years, it used to be one larger in December, but after many partners working upon this fighting against FGM, they started making it even in June during school holidays, June and December. But now they are just using an opportunity which will be available. Like I can say during the COVID time, our schools were closed and some of the parents started cutting their daughters. It was in March, from March to June. Yeah, they were a cutting season. So they are just using the opportunity and the chances because they used to do the cutting during daytime, but now they do during nighttime.
Right, so you said that you're expecting a lot of girls, maybe 300 plus girls in the next cutting season, but how many of those will go back to their families at the end of the cutting season in January, do you think?
For me, I think because after starting to identify these girls, we started even visiting the families of some of the girls, talking to the parents now, face to face, and trying to counsel them, teach them, tell them about the effects of FGM. Some they agree, they will change. So for me, I know 350 girls, almost more, even 300 could go back.
Okay, so there's a period of reconciliation of you talking to the parents sign an affidavit that they won't cut the girls, and then the girls return. Is that right?
Yes, we do reconciliation, as I've said. We do also the psychologists also doing counseling to the parents, and for the parents who are accepting to take back their daughters, we have the consent form which the parents are signing, and the police gender desk are signing, the social welfare, and we as Hope we sign. And for us, after every 3 months, we do a follow-up to see how is the girl doing. We go to school. If she's schooling, we talk to the teachers and we talk to the girl and we go back to the parent. But also 3 months is long time, but we have our digital champions and volunteers who are now watching and making a good follow-up to those girls. But some families are refusing, rejecting their daughters, saying it is a shame for them, for their daughters free from FGM, because sometimes they prepared a big ceremony and they invited the people to come, and the people didn't, when the people arrived, the girl was not there. So the girl made them ashamed. They don't want to see her anymore, and that they don't have any woman who is not cut in the family. So in such a situation, those are the kind of the girls who are remaining to the safe house. We can't force taking them back, and instead we stay with them, and then if they're supposed to go to school, we take them to school. And if they didn't select it to continue with further education or they completed the standard 7, we join them with our vocational class where they learn tailoring, entrepreneurship skills, and sometimes we take them to hotel management and hospitality. Some they're learning driving. Yeah. And after every 3 months, when we do a follow-up to those girls who are taken back, we also do a follow-up. We visit also these families who rejected their parents. We counsel them, we continue, and finally we succeed to persuade them to accept their daughters back.
Fantastic. So in some cases, the girls can stay in the safe house for a long time, but eventually they can be reconciled.
Yeah. They stay for a long time, but finally we succeed to reconcile with their parents. because of the changing of attitude. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, I think there was a case of quite a few girls stayed for a year and they learned tailoring, but then eventually they went back to their villages with a sewing machine, and the village welcomed them back because now they are economically independent, and,
and
their families like them.
Yeah, they like them when they say, this is our daughter. So we can see the issue. Our community, the parents, if they see a girl, their daughters with working in generating income, they respect her. I can say, like, we have another girl called Elizabeth. She graduated from this hotel management and hospitality, and she's employed in our this national park hotels, and she's paid in dollar. And the father rejected her, and he warned any member from the family not to accept her in their homes. So Eliza, working very hard, finally when she started working, and the father had now Elizabeth is working and she's well paid, and he phoned Eliza's number and started calling her. You are my daughter, and you are welcome to come home. Yeah, and also trying now to, even the youngest of Eliza, some were married, they passed to join secondary education, he stopped them. So it is just a challenge even to him. Every time they come back, they are suffering, they come back, they want the help. So now he's saying, you are not my daughter is Elizabeth. Yeah, that is my daughter. And he forgot that even for Eliza, that is what he was planning, to cut her and to nail her off. So, but now, yeah.
That's a great story, Rhobi, and I think that's a really good place to end because we've run out of time. So thank you so much for your inspiring work, Rhobi.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for joining this. Thank you, all mappers, all volunteers who are helping us doing mapping our areas. Thank you very much. Really, it's very nice to have these maps.
Thank you. So I will share the recording and the slides with people who registered. So thank you